Welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk Dog Business. Today we are speaking to the very intriguing Caroline, also known as the spiritual dog trainer. This is one not to be missed as it certainly piqued my interest and it was a really good conversation. Hope you enjoy. So we are both trainers, behaviourists. We've been in dog world now collectively for 24 plus years-ish. And our vision, mission, goal, however you want to frame it, is to start shining a light on the industry in order to uplift it. So we want...
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we want dog professionals to really start believing in themselves. We want them to start...
Imposter syndrome 101.
Yeah, absolutely. Start looking at themselves as business owners. So within this podcast and the way that we're running this business, we are ultimately giving access all areas to not only other dog professionals in different walks of life, but also business professionals. So 6-7 figure business owners, sales professionals, all of that, to give everybody the absolute best possible information out there to just start doing something a little bit differently, start perceiving yourself a little bit differently. In turn, will hopefully uplift the industry, which in turn will then benefit all the dogs out there, which is why a lot of us got into this in the first place.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So many businesses are dog related now.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. Really.
And we really liked the sound of yours because it's very niche, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Is it niche? I guess it is. It's niche from the point of view that there's not many people that run it. We've all really got an innate knowing of who we truly are, though, and that we have this other side to us. So it's more, for me, it's a global collective knowing that we do actually have this other side, which is, for me, it's the biggest thing. It's just that in terms of people actually talking about it, and especially within the dog world, I guess it can appear niche. There are so many really supportive people out there that are teaching how to access this part of you that for many of us has laid dormant for so long, and it's like we're re-remembering who we truly are. But for me, my journey's been to include my dog with that. And really she is, or all my dogs really, have been not just teachers, but way showers really towards a different way of being, and towards integrating that part of me and re-remembering that part of me. And each dog that we have the joy to share our lives with will do that for us in their individual way, take us to the next step within our own growth and development of who we truly are inside. Because when we're working with dogs, we're working really with the heart space. That's what we're working with. And that's one of the reasons we're attracted to living with dogs, because they, just by being around them, they start to open our heart space. And we know that deep down, that's a part of us that we've lost our way with a little bit. So for me, by uniting the mind and the heart, we get the full equal balance, and we can really then work from who we truly are. Because predominantly I find in the dog world is we're using a lot to do with the mind. So we've really, really strongly gone down that route where we're talking about the dog's mental abilities, their neuro pathways, how they think, what's inside the dog's mind. I mean, you consider the books that you see on the shelves in somewhere like Waterstones, it's Think Dog, it's inside the dog's mind. And even when we've approached things from a slightly more soul-based way, we're still thinking of it in terms of like, how can I heal the dog? Or in a sense, how can I fix a problem, which is still very mind-based? Or how can I communicate with the mind-to-mind telepathically? So it takes quite a leap to realize that there's this whole other way of being that for me, when I introduce this other way of being alongside all of that, because all of that's very valid, but when you bring the heart space into your work as well, it's like doors just open and you go, oh my God, this is like totally the other side of dog training and behavior. And I've been missing it all this time. Like, where have I been, you know? And this is what happens when people come on my courses and come on my retreats or become part of the Canine Flow community. They suddenly see a different side to their dog. And it actually really, rather than detracting, because it balances out, it enhances how you work with your dog in terms of their possible thoughts and their mental cognitive ways. You actually understand that side of things better because you're then understanding the heart space and that way of working with dogs as well.
Yeah.
And so I found, anyway.
I love it.
Wow.
I love it. So I'm going to keep you on that train of thought then. So can you just tell us a little bit more about you then? So for anyone listening who hasn't got a clue who you are, tell us more about you and your story.
Yeah, I kind of launched into that, didn't I?
No, it's great. I love it.
Good. Yeah, we like it.
Oh, I love doing this work. I just love doing this work and I love teaching people. But you know, if you'd said that to me kind of 20 odd years ago, I would have been like, me teaching? I don't think so. I go red when I talk to like anyone.
Really?
You know, it was, yeah. And I think the more that I've done this work, the more it just has become something that I just know that I am here to teach, which sounds crazy, but it feels a bit like a purpose. And I love to talk about it. I don't do it all the time because my day job is as a canine nutrition consultant for pet food companies. Oh. So that side of me is more, I was going to say very, but really it's just more analytical and more into the molecular and all that side of things. So there's like two sides to me. But the more I understand the energy side and what energy really is as well, because energy isn't woo. It is measurable, which I can talk about later on. But essentially, so I'm 45 now, so trying to do this in a linear fashion so I don't get it wrong. And when I was 16, I left school and I just wanted to work with dogs. That was like my thing. I just wanted to do it. Now, we did not have the internet like we do now. So there was me with the yellow pages. Remember them?
Yeah, remember them.
Sitting with my dial-up phone, calling every dog kennels in the area to give me a job. Now, I was still at college. So I went to college and I did media studies, which funny enough, it's funny what we choose, isn't it? That gave me an understanding actually of sort of how business runs in a sense. So I kind of, without knowing it, had that within me as well after that 2-year course. And the whole time I was there, I worked at this kennels that had taken me on. They'd rung me back and they'd said, yes, you can come and work with us. Anyway, when I left that course, I then went there full time. And really, it was the next 20 years of working there that gave me the biggest education in terms of who I am and how I want to work with dogs. I studied you just become like a sponge. Goodness me. I remember back then it was like the next course, what can I learn now? And you just want to learn everything. Yeah. And I remember, and back in the day, I really loved people like Catherine O'Driscoll. If you haven't heard of her, do look her up. She's very sadly died now.
Oh, she?
But she was amazing. Yeah, she was amazing. So really fascinating stuff. And I learned a lot from her. I studied canine nutrition. I would call holistic vets who there were very few and far between. Chris Day, he was one of them, and Nick Thompson. Back in the day, he'd like freshly qualified, and so these people I kind of knew back then, and I would learn from them now. But not just that, somehow, and I believe now it's through a magnetic. It's a magnetic attraction that we all have, and again is measurable. None of this is woo-woo. The Institute of Heart Math have measured this now. It's beyond people saying, oh, when you think things and feel things, you attract them. We know it happens because they've measured it. Anyway, and that's what I love, because being a nutritionist, I always love to put the science in with the other bits. So anyway, where was I? So I'd studied these things, but what had happened magnetically is, without me realizing it back then, of all the people I'd rung from the Yellow Pages, the one lady that had called me back was a homeopath. and she fed her dogs fresh food, and she bred Pyrenean mountain dogs and Lhasa and she had a cattery of 20 and a kennels of 10.
Wow.
And basically I was the only, I was the only person working there when I was there with her, but there was another person who did the days I wasn't in. So I learned from this wonderful lady, Dawn. I really learned from her, and I was with her for 20 years, and she taught me all about homeopathy. And I was like, look, this homeopathy works. Like, I literally saw it work, because when you're in a holiday kennels, you repeatedly see the same animals. So I'd see them poorly like 6 months ago, then they'd turn up, and because they'd had the remedies she'd given them, they were better. Yet the guardians who didn't choose to take Dawn's remedies would, their pets would still have the same ailment. So I was like seeing this constantly as evidence to me. And hardly any dogs back then, when I was 16, were on veterinary drugs. It wasn't the way like it is now. They weren't as ill. Whereas by the time I left, we actually had a whole shelf the length of the kitchen dedicated to ailment-based veterinary medication. And it's like, wow, like when you think of the difference in that 20 years of how that happened. Anyway, the guardians who didn't accept these remedies, their pet would continually, year on, year out, have the spring allergies or have the digestive problems and never be able to eat anything of any interest. Poor dogs. Much dogs love food. So for me, I learned so much from that lady, Dawn. She put me on my path, really, and I dedicated my first book to her. And I've continued to learn ever since. I decided possibly about 16 years ago now, I wanted to go on a retreat. So I'd become quite involved in meditating and that way of being. I'd done all different complementary health courses for dogs. And I wanted to go on a retreat with my then dog, Spud, who was a Jack Russell. And I couldn't find one. I found one in America. And I thought, this is crazy. So I thought, you know what? I've got so much to teach, and I can read dogs tremendously from working in the kennels, because we used to have a big area where they all went together as well. It wasn't like they'd be separate back then. Anyway, so I thought, I'm going to run one myself. So I just dial up internet again back then, found this wonderful venue. And I've been at the same venue now for the last 16 years. I now do 2 retreats a year, sometimes 3 retreats, but they're courses. So they're courses that you learn Canine Flow on. So you come on the retreats as part of the community. So you do your level 1, which is the theory-based stuff, because I don't want to be lecturing and teaching people on a retreat. It's not about that. So level 1 is the theory in the course. Then you get to come on the retreat for level 2 and really understand Canine Flow, really practice it, really become involved in it, get to know what it is. And then if it's for you, then you come back for your 3rd retreat and you teach some of it with me. And I encourage people to then learn how to integrate Canine Flow in what they're already doing. So for many people, they don't want to just stop the other side of dog training. Some people do. It's fascinating. Some people just go, wow, why didn't I see this before? This is all I want to do now. But other people, they say, no, I really like teaching all my other stuff and I don't want to stop my puppy classes. So they do all this, and they run relaxed dog classes, and they run day retreats. And so it's an additional string to their bow and an additional tool that you can really use to support dogs. So that's what kind of the process of learning Canine Flow has become over the years. It started as mini weekend retreats, and very quickly I just had people calling me going, I don't want to just come on the retreat. I want to know why after 4 days with you, my dog is completely transformed. Like, how have you done that? And I'm like, okay. And I had to really stop and think, okay, what do I actually do different? Because sometimes we're so involved in what we do, it's almost like we need someone else to watch us and go, well, you did that. Oh, did I? Oh, yes, I do that. And it's quite, I don't know whether anyone else can relate to that, but that's how I found it. So putting together Canine Flow as a course has been fundamental really in moving forward and supporting people to understand their dogs and their dog's energetic flow. So that's my story. I don't know whether that specifically tells you what Canine Flow is.
But you know what? I'm sitting here just going, oh my God, I'm laughing this up. This is so interesting. So who is Canine Flow targeted at? Is it at dog professionals or is it at dog owners or caregivers or whatever the technical term is now?
It depends what you want to do with it, because historically, up until I made it into a course, guardians were attending the retreats and the courses, and they were finding transformation. So if you were a guardian or you just want to go on the course or be part of the Canine Flow community for your dog, that's more than feasible. And these, these changes happen. But what I tend to find is even guardians who initially come on like my first level 1 and they go, I'm not going to be teaching it. I don't want to teach this. I just want to do this for me. Mm-hmm. At the end of it, they can't believe the change and they want to tell their neighbours. And they will start a relaxed dog class so that they can share it with their friends. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So you become professional, even if you don't think you want to, because it brings out who you truly are. And deep down, we are all these wonderful heart-based people that have the ability to use our minds. And we've been stuck in the mind. So when you come back to the heart and you go, oh my God, like I just want to tell other people how to do this as well, because it is life-changing, you know?
Yeah, no, and I can really see that. I mean, I suppose I'm really fascinated from like the business point of view as well. So kind of, like you say, these things kind of naturally happen, don't they? You kind of find yourself doing these things and in your case, putting on some of these retreats. How did you kind of find that experience then of, you say you were looking for one to go on yourself and then you decided, do you know what, there is a gap here. And we're always talking about kind of niching down and focusing on something that you do genuinely love. So yeah, kind of following that heart passion. How did the business bit kind of evolve around you then making that decision to create something yourself? What was the kind of journey that you went on, and what support did you need, if any, to help you get to where you are now?
Okay, so there's two ways of looking at this. So primarily, I just was so excited to do what I wanted to do this new thing, that I think I just made that happen, because I had that energy going out that was like, this is how it's going to be. I'm so excited to run this, that I wasn't focusing on, oh my God, I've got to pay my rent, I must get more people on my class. I was like, this excites me, this is what I want to teach. And when you put that out there, it comes back. You and you can't help but make the money, because that's what you're doing, in a sense. Like it's back and forth. It's that ping-ponging of energy that I talk about in canine behavior all the time. So that happens with us as well. So I think that's a big part of it. It's really coming back to who you are and what you want to teach and why. Yeah. And becoming a warrior, not a worrier, not worrying about where you're going to get the next £10, £20, whatever from. It's, what do I want to put into this world? So that's part of it. That is definitely, and I think that's a whopping great part of it. Actually, I think that's like most of it.
I would agree. Do you know what? To hear that is so refreshing.
Yeah, it's so lovely.
Like, you've gone with that and you've gone, this will work, because I know it's the right thing to do.
I didn't even think about whether it would work or not. It was just, this is what I want to do. And I never even thought people wouldn't want it, because it just seems so cool.
Yeah, it sounds so cool.
I know. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and then it just grew. It just grew and grew from there. But there is, I think there is an element where, especially in this day and age, because there's more people doing more stuff, isn't it? Really understanding what it is you're doing and kind of trying to get that clear in your mind, so you're not in overwhelm. So it's like clarity on, this is what I do, and this is who it's for, as such, and kind of making a bit of a plan, if you like, around that. I think that is part of it as well. It's just that we often focus too much on that part and then go, why isn't it happening?
Yeah.
You know, like you can be organized, but you still need the excitement. Yeah. And keeping that excitement isn't always easy either. You know, for some people it comes more naturally than others. But keeping that excitement, I think, is linked in with what we eat, choices we make in terms of nutrition ourselves, which I would say, being a nutritionist as well, but it's the truth. And it's how we nourish ourselves. You know, like, it doesn't mean you have to go to yoga to nourish your nervous system, but some kind of physical activity would definitely support us beyond dog walking, something that's just for us. And other ways that you really nourish your nervous system to, whilst at the same time being passionate about what you do, being grounded. Yeah. Does that make sense? So you're grounded in what you want to achieve. So you're sort of bringing that little organized part through. It isn't always easy, but we do have to nourish ourselves. And the more we can nourish our nervous system and nourish ourselves, the easier it does become to stay enthusiastic. And it is about, you know what it is as well? It's about telling people. We just have to keep telling people. And I think that's why social media works so well, because we can share what we do, and then we can share what we do again, and then we can share what we do again, and we can just keep sharing. And sometimes I think the imposter syndrome kind of comes in a little bit. Oh, who am I to share this, or who am I to teach this, or people don't want to hear from me again, you know. But you get different people each time, because you can have like thousands of people on your page, and I experienced this. You have thousands of people on your page, and you get like 3 people who'll listen to that post and 5 people who'll listen to that post, but you'll get one from each that will want to be part of this and learn more. So you don't get, it's not like the same people are seeing you repeatedly, if you see what I mean. So I think sharing the message and just keep sharing it and not losing that magic, that helps as well.
Yeah. And I think that's it's a really interesting point, because I think, like you say, I think for the majority of anyone in any business, when you're first kind of like starting out and you've got that excitement, you've got the enthusiasm to really want to make it work, how have you found maintaining that enthusiasm for everything? Because I expect, as with any walk of life and in any business, you're always going to have those times when you're having a down day, or it's a down month, or someone has just said something to you, or there's been some form of negativity somewhere. How have you personally found the ability to keep with that passion and that enthusiasm to keep doing what you're doing?
This is going to sound such a cliche, but literally look back at testimonials, look back at photos of you doing what you did and the dogs you supported. Yeah. Because I know, like, I'll look at and go, oh my God, yeah, I remember that lady and Bertie. My God, why am I not telling this? Like, if I had not shared this, they would not have transformed, and he would not get on with other dogs now. And so you almost have to go back. It's like the dogs are there again going, actually, no, remember me. You really helped me. So yeah, that actually is one of the things that I would do if I'm feeling a bit like, oh my God, like someone doesn't like my work, or something like that, or doesn't understand it, then I'd kind of go back to the dogs.
No, I love it.
That's why we're doing this, really. It's all very well, like the Guardians are the ones that sign up to the course, and they do transform as well. And I love them too. I've got like too many to mention that are friends now as a result of doing what I do. But the dogs, I never forget the dogs. Yeah. It is about the dogs, really. They're speaking all the time, not even in an animal communication way, but they're just energetically always there.
Yeah. No, I love that.
So a bit of what Jo mentioned earlier about, so tell me a bit more about your retreats then. So how long are they? How are they structured? What do you cover? Don't have to go in obviously real depth, but just how are they? Give us an idea of how they're structured and what people are going to learn in them.
So what I'll do, I don't know if this is a podcast or visual, but either way, I can send you like a list of what is in the course.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that you can see as well in the show notes what's available.
Absolutely. We'll do that.
Learn. So the retreats are level 2. So the retreats are very much about doing Canine Flow, actually practicing it, and the different tools and set of tools we've got within Canine Flow. And the level 1 is the theory-based side. And that really is vital to understand before you go on a retreat. Otherwise, you get on the retreat and you go, why are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't have time to tell you because that's part of level 1. Do you know? Do you know what I'm? Yeah. So level 1 is just amazing in its own right. I have people from all over the world do the level 1 course,
and the level 1 course.
They need to come on a retreat to transform.
So the level 1 course, how long should that take you to do?
I do a guided version that takes 3 months, but you have lifetime access. So you don't have to complete within the 3 months. But we do 3 Wednesdays a month. And one of the Wednesdays is a meditation-based evening. So that's all about your visions, where you want to go, whether it's just to transform behavior, whether it's something within your own life that you want to change, something going on between you and your dog, a connection. It could be all sorts, even if it's just to strengthen the connection. So we're focused on that in that one. And then on the other 2 Wednesdays, we actually talk about the Canine Flow principles and how we view dogs within Canine Flow. And we go through that, through the different stages. And then in the final month, the guardians on the course are asked to practice some of the things that they're learning, just like on video. So, because some of them I may never see again on a retreat. So it's nice to know that they have that understanding. So we do something called spirals. So I encourage people to understand what they're doing with the spirals. Which are kind of like, it's like spirals are a form of energy in themselves. So the Fibonacci spiral is maths, which you've probably heard of the Fibonacci spiral. Have you? Or
yes, I have heard of it. Couldn't tell you what it is, but I've heard of it.
It's on the back of my cards, actually. So the Fibonacci spiral is like the mathematical root of everything that we see as matter. Mm-hmm. Everything has this spiral. I mean, you sort of instantly think of like a shell or a scale or something, but actually everything has it. Our DNA, the dog's DNA, everything. So we work with these spirals quite a lot. So connecting with the spirals, understanding how to use them with the dog to create transformation and cellular change, releasing cellular memory, releasing trauma, all that kind of thing, rebalancing tension, just so much stuff. The dog's body will do it if you give it the potential to do so. So we understand the spirals. Also, what I call professional canine hypnotherapy, which is not to do with their mind. And it's veterinary approved, so it's all safe. So there's a hypnotherapy side of it as well, where you learn how to offer this relaxation technique to your dog, which then does relax the guardian as well. But it allows the dog's higher self to connect with you and release as well if they're holding on to stuff, because within Canine Flow, one of our belief sets is that the dog will take on things for you emotionally. So it's a really wonderful way to allow the dog's higher self to release anything that they've taken on for you, to thank them with gratitude, but allow them to release it. And it might sound crazy, but it absolutely works. You can also use canine hypnotherapy to understand more about what's going on. So everything we do within Canine Flow is allowing ourselves to, as I said, unite the heart and the mind. So you can really feel what's happening soul-wise, but you can also know that mentally, rather than just guessing mentally and going, did I really get that or did I not get that? Because you feel it first. So for instance, there was a lady that came on one of the courses. She'd done a level 1, she came on the level 2, and her dog was so worried about being with other dogs that luckily it was a nice weather week, she sat outside with her dog and had her head in through the window listening to what I was saying, and worked with her dog that way. And when we did the hypnotherapy, that was when the dog was showing me things. So within the sunny field that you take the dog to, the dog was putting these, or all these things were appearing. I felt it was the dog showing me. And I was then able to unpick a bit what was happening for this dog, and work with the guardian in that way to support her to make changes when they went home as well. So I may not have got that if we hadn't gone down the hypnotherapy route. So there's different ways that you can work with dogs. So those modalities, they're just a couple of the things we do, but they are taught in the level 1 as a guardian. You know, so even if you did want to do this professionally, you would need to do the level 1 as a dog guardian. And if you don't have a dog, you can borrow a dog, or someone is always willing to let you work on their dog. Usually, I find as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
Family members, friends, yeah. So yeah, and we learn an awful lot to do with understanding what things that we hear bandied about really are. Okay, so things like the law of attraction, you hear that talked about a lot. And it's just energy work and energy healing, and people say everything's energy and things like that. So it's like understanding what that really is, and also understanding what it is we can measure within that, because so much of that is measurable. I mean, the heart work is completely measurable. It's phenomenal what's out there. And this is published data. But because it's not in our everyday news and it's not in our education system, it isn't until you come on a course like Canine Flow, you go, oh my God, I didn't even know this existed. You know, and it's like, oh yeah, like it's documented. And the hypnotherapy is amazing. In terms of science, there was a research study done at Hartpury with a P University, and I don't know if you know about it, but it essentially the results were showing that it's the human voice that's the most soothing thing to the dog, above silence, music, and music specifically designed for dogs. So the human voice was the most soothing and calming and created the most contentment in the dogs. So that I just think is amazing. You know, we stick on the calming music and we think we're doing something, but actually it's the way we talk to them that has the greatest effect.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's so many questions that are popping up in my mind.
I'm going to be fighting you for questions.
I don't feel I've really explained what Canine Flow is, why it's called Canine Flow, but there's probably time. So yeah, and can I just show you my little dog?
Of course.
I've got her cat here. She's over there. She's only got 3 legs. She's shelter rescue from the dog meat trade.
Wow.
I've had her for it's Fusa. Fusa, her name is. She's only small. She's like a mini German Shepherd. She's only got 3 legs, yeah, and I just love her. You know, and the older she's got, the more I love her. The more I'm like, oh, I just want to make everything right for her, because having 3 legs is challenging. Yes. Yeah, on the rest of her body.
Yeah. Lots of compensatory things going on. I imagine from that. Yeah, with my canine massage hat on. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But she's been a huge part of the journey.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's just trying to think like what's the best question to ask next, because if I'm being completely honest, we've just over the last couple months we've decided to go into woo land as we call it, and we're really immersing ourselves in, like you say, the law of attraction and manifestation and everything, and we are absolutely loving it. We have to catch ourselves every now and again, which is why I think it's quite nice to do this journey together, because we're able to catch the other and go, hold on 1 second, stop doing that. But then
stop being negative.
Yeah. But then I can see why, like, my brain is all over the place, because I'm currently doing my animal behaviour degree. So it's very academic based. It's very evolutionary. And then if you kind of look at the teachings of things like Kim Brophy, when she's talking about the ethology of everything, and it's almost like you can see how everything works together, but also you can see how it kind of conflicts as well, and go, well, okay, so how can we do this amazing like hypnotherapy work, and the dogs are showing us all of this lovely heart center stuff, which is, I'm so fascinated, and I cannot wait for you to send that information over, because we'll be on your next retreat, I'm certain of it. But then it's also, I don't know, like your brain is trying to, I suppose, process going, well, you know, you've got the evolutionary side of it and how it all interlinks. And I just think it's really fascinating, because I do think that there is a space to, and I'm really grateful to be in a position where we can have this conversation with you, because it's definitely not something that is spoken about enough, I feel. And I think from a business point of view as well, I just find it really interesting because of how niche it is. We get feedback all the time on how when you go as niche as something like this, you are going to be alienating a lot of people. But actually, I'm getting the vibe from you that I cannot imagine you doing anything other than this.
Nor me.
And I don't think that that's even a problem for you. I think you can absolutely, and I get the feeling again that you have made the perfect life for yourself by doing this very niche business.
I mean, that's the thing again. I don't know if it is. I guess it is niche from the point of view of not many people are doing it. But everybody, when you ask them really to think about how they feel, and do they feel that perhaps their heart and their mind could be balanced a bit more, and are they an overthinker, and you know, do they worry too much? I don't know if there's a human being that would say that they're not, well, they might be, but there's not many human beings that would say that they don't feel that they're more mind-based. So as long as they're happy to and are looking to, and if they are looking, if they're looking with their heart for what's next, if they're wondering, that's partly why my tagline is love, with and wonder, because as soon as you wonder if there's a way to be more heart-based, or another way, just another way that isn't the mind-based one, you'll find it. So it's niche from the point of view that there's not many people doing it in this specific way at the moment, but there are literally every single person walking this planet has the ability to unite, because it isn't you do this and then you don't do the other stuff. Like, none of that evolution stuff is conflicting to this. It's all, this is like another part it's like a big part of the jigsaw puzzle that we've just been missing. And I've done all the courses. As I said, I was like a sponge for courses. I've done so many behavior courses, and that stuff is great. And it's, you know, we don't live in a particularly, sadly, safe world now. So, you know, we need recall, and we need these things to support our dogs in the world that we've created. So, but it's like, this is like this other part. And as I said, if it's like it either slots in with you as a piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and you go, oh my God, I can't wait to offer that. And actually, I've got 4 or 5 people that were going to come on my training class that didn't, and I bet you they'd come on a relaxed dog class, you know, because everyone wants something slightly different. Or you go, oh my God, how have I not seen this before? This is all I want to do.
Do
you see what I mean? So I think it doesn't need to be niche, because there are so many people, and gone are the days where it's like people aren't ready for this. Oh my God, people are so ready. And it is all in how you describe it as well, because it isn't woo-woo actually. And being involved in science in my other job, I know how to look at things, and it isn't woo-woo. We've almost been cultured to believe that anything that's described as energy. So let me just explain what flow is. Flow is basically the vital life force flow that goes through your dog. Okay, now they wouldn't be alive if they didn't have this vital life force flow. And it's a feeling, and it's a set of hormones as well, which, as we know, are often called chemical communication in if you want to label them in the other side of the things, but they're basically hormones, and they're a flow of energy, emotional energy. So energy is energy in motion, emotion.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's energy in motion, and it's flowing and changing constantly. And the dog needs to have an ability to ground those emotions. As humans, we ground them. We need to do that too. And a lot of the time we don't ground our emotions, and they get all caught up in us, and they come out in a, in a flurry or a drama queen session or something. And dogs essentially do the same thing. They need to be grounding all the time. And in the natural world, they will do this. They will constantly ground. But what we do, just because we have them in our houses, and we've adapted them to our lives instead of us adapting to theirs. Like, I'm sure when we first started co-evolving with dogs and coexisting with dogs, we were kind of more like they live, and we were out there roaming, and we were hunting, and we were grounding ourselves in that way as well. And we probably had different nutrition, and, we were more dog-like, and now it's like the other way around. They're adapting to our ways of being, which aren't necessarily very grounding for us. So then when we see them, they kind of almost, it's like the flow can't flow if we are constantly asking them not to do things. And sadly, the most of the time that the dogs want to flow and they want to ground, they're using their mouth, which is why enrichment is so great. It's got nothing to do with the mind, nothing to do with tiring them mentally, absolutely nothing. It's because they are allowing that flow that's caught up in them to be grounded out emotionally with their mouth and their limbic system. So they're content emotionally. That's why they're calm. Because if you ask a child to do their homework just before bed, they won't sleep because they've used their mind and it's too buzzing. Yeah. We don't want the dog using their mind if we want them to be calmer. We want the dog using their mind if we want them to do things that we need their mind for, but not to be calm. We need them to come out of the mind, same as we do. Yeah. We want to be this calm individual that's settled and content. So canine enrichment is just amazing. And I love all these groups where they come up with all these toys and all these games and all these activities. And I just think more, because in the world that dogs would choose to live in, they would be doing stuff all the time. All the time they'd be out grounding and digging and, having fun and doing dog stuff, that they just can't do as pets. And it's not because we've stopped them. It's just how we live. And do you see what I mean? We've sort of adapted them to live with us. And then if you then add on top of that quite strict training, there's all sorts of things that come into it. But if you add strict training on top of it, you're limiting their flow even more. And the dog goes, I just want to do something. You're like, no. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying everybody does this, but this can happen. I've seen it a lot over the last 16 years. And a lot of that comes from our insecurities about not being good enough or being judged as not a good enough dog owner, or not even just a good citizen. This dog that wants to go and have fun. Oh my God, that's scary sometimes, Yeah, and dogs have this huge magnetic heart. They literally do have the biggest heart per body mass of any animal walking planet Earth. So per body mass. So they are this huge magnetic heart. And when two dogs are walking together or near each other, they can feel each other's magnets. It literally is like magnets coming together. So this is why it's almost like, and then they ground when they're next to each other. So the playing that they do is grounding for them magnetically. They're also trying to balance each other's polarities. So magnets have a north and a south polarity. So one of the reasons dogs will go nose to bum on either side is a polarity. They're looking for the magnetic polarity. And we almost stop them from doing it because we're too worried of what's going to happen. And actually then they go away with that charge in them, which has to come out because the flow is stuck in them. So it has to come out, that charge, in a different way. Or if it doesn't come out, if it's very restricted, it will come out as an ailment. It will, because it will manifest in those cells. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an understanding. Do you remember that study, Dr. John Bradshaw, Bristol Uni? I'm pretty sure it was him. It might not have been, but I think it was him. And it was about the dog turning to when it was going to the loo, and it was turning round to find magnetic north.
Yeah.
Do you remember
that
I have study?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, my dog doesn't do that," and da da da. It's crazy. Well, no, this is what they're doing. They can definitely sense magnetic polarity. So they're going round until they get that alignment, that energetic alignment, to then stool. That's essentially what they are doing. It makes so much sense when you understand how magnetism works. And we're taught a lot about electricity, but we're not really taught culturally or at school about magnetism in the same way. But dogs, essentially, the way we see them in Canine Flow is they're essentially just living in this world of frequency and energy. They're like, where can I put my energy? Where can I put my energy? Like, this energy is constantly in them, this magnetism. And yes, we can use their mind. Yes, we can. And we can utilize their different bred instincts as well. And we can hone those and make those really awesome to support us in whatever it is we're doing. But if we're not looking at sort of who they are inside, like who is this dog that just wants to give energy? You know, why have they got this life force flow? What are they doing with their life force flow? For me, all behaviors are linked in with life force flow, either them naturally grounding or a charge of energy that's grounding in some way because it hasn't been able to. And that's a classic of puppies that run away in the park. And then people say, "Oh, I can't let him off the lead." I meet them all the time because he ran away. But prior to him running away that time, I can guarantee there would have been lots of restrictions. So he had this charge and he just went, "Whoa, I need to ground." And he just went and ground. You know, whereas, and so it's changing how people see dogs in that way. It becomes like the other piece of the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
To working with them.
Do you see yourself as a dog trainer? Do you describe, if someone asks you what do you do? Would you say you're
dog behavior work?
Dog behavior
100%. It's dog behavior work, but it's also supporting the guardian to come into their heart space as well, and to see the messages that the dogs have got for them, whether it's their own dog or just dogs in general, in terms of their own abundance and happiness and creating the things that they want to create, understanding their own empowerment. It's really about empowerment. So it's the dog's messages for us on empowerment.
Yeah. No, it's super interesting, isn't it? And is it just you working in your business, or do you have a team that work with you, work for you? How do you kind of run it?
So I have practitioners.
Yeah. And
they support Canine Flow, but it is really me. Yeah, it is really me. And yeah, I have people that support me. So I might have like a business consultant, or I might have people that know more about social media than I do, and think I'm sort of more of an outsourcer rather than let's get someone in on a team.
Yeah, yeah.
No, so I guess, yeah, like I like to outsource and find people who, you know, really know what they're doing.
Yeah,
in things I'm not so good at.
I love that, and I think that it seems to be like a recurring theme with everybody we talk to on this podcast, because it's something we've certainly experienced from being in industry, that it's so easy to try and keep hold of everything, isn't it? And go, oh, I need to become the expert at that. I need to do this. I need to do that. But like you said, outsourcing to people that are going to help you be better is something we certainly advocate for. And you mentioned there about having a business consultant in. So how have you kind of used that business consultant? What has that entity helped you do with your business?
More structure, I'd say.
Okay, structure.
So, you know, creating webinar flows, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So definitely more structure, and also as a sounding board for my own confidence in the different things that I want to offer as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it really helps to have somebody who has run kind of several businesses or you know, is offering that service to support you to understand whether that is a crazy idea or actually, no, you're really onto something there.
Yeah, but that's what you need, isn't it? So like you say, sounding board, completely, that sums it up, doesn't it, as to what that person should be.
Yeah. And nice again that you mentioned that it's good for that sounding board to be someone who has got experience in doing either something a bit different or who has invested heavily in their own knowledge and stuff to get there. Like we all go to each other, like it was like our guardians coming to us with their dogs, they're coming to us as the professionals. So it should be theoretically the same for us to go to another professional to support with our stuff. But there just seems to be a bit of a blocker. I don't know if you found it, but it's something that I don't think this industry, like specifically, really tends to go out and either thinks they need it or they're a bit scared of looking into it, or there's kind of like a mindset block on, do I need this additional support?
Or do I want to let any of it go? I think that's a really hard thing for a lot of dog business owners.
Okay, it could be that. You probably know more about that than I do. I'm not doing business coaching really. So yeah, I mean, it could be that. I know the imposter syndrome is very big, especially the people that do my canine nutrition courses. They're then able to practice and consult canine nutrition, but they don't.
Yeah,
they generally don't because some of them do, but they feel an imposter syndrome. You know, if my dog isn't completely healthy, how can I teach someone else? But it doesn't mean that the knowledge isn't there. But I think, I don't know, because as I said, it's probably more your thing, but I do know lots of people who work in the dog industry. One of my best friends years ago, and still is actually, I think she's nailed it a bit more now, was a dog walker at the time. And she had just basic business stuff was missing, like having a cancellation time. You know, even something like that. I think, like, I was like, but they've just cancelled and then they don't have to pay you. And like, how do you know what is coming in each week? Or like, you'll never know if you don't have these sort of terms and conditions, if you like, within your business. So I think there's an element where we do have to understand business, and business consultants or coaches that understand your field that you're working in, that understand the dog field, are valuable. But also people that don't, because then you get well, I'm not your customer, but I've got a dog. Most people have got dogs, even these business coaches. They're like, so, and I at the moment can't see why I would go on your training. Yeah. Like, why would I take my Monty to your training? Like, whereas somebody who's within the dog world, they might be great for other knowledge, but they would already be invested in knowing why, so that might not come up for them. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that so absolutely makes so much sense. You've hit the nail on the head there, because that's someone on the outside looking in and kind of looking at it from a layman's term, like a potential client term. That's how you want somebody to look at your business, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is like we go on about it all the time. Like, it's so important to get that external look in. Don't just keep it within industry. It's why, again, on this podcast, there is so many different guests coming on from all walks of life. And I just think it is, it's so important to get that, to get into the mind space of your potential client and go, well, what are they going to be thinking? And rather getting out of our own head a little bit and going, well, we know this is why you need all of this stuff. But what are they thinking?
And even, is the messaging clear enough? Like, because that business mentor, coach, consultant will go, I don't really understand what it is you offer. Like, does that need to change? So, you know, that's really good to have somebody come in and say that to you, isn't it? Because you can go, well, I understand it. And like you say, other dog professionals will get it, but is the client going to get it?
Yeah, definitely. And all that's really important. Sort of, you know, your pricing structure, feeling happy with what it is you're going to be pricing things at as well. Being invested in your own business, that's the thing. But as we said quite near the beginning, it's like that for me, that's like 20% of it, really. The rest of it is all about your energy and enthusiasm for what you're doing, really. Which the dogs give us. So a lot of it is just about doing it as well. Even if you've only got 2 people in the class and you've actually lost money, you've still got the photos from that to share that you're doing stuff. You've still got those testimonials at the end. So it's building that up rather than going, oh my God, I only got 2 people. Do it anyway and just keep building on that so that you're living then in that business each time.
Yeah. No, that is. And I think, again, that's another really important thing, isn't it? I suppose it's easy to feel deflated if you are in that situation where you have potentially lost money because you booked the venue and then only 2 people have turned up.
Yeah, we've been there. We've definitely been there.
We've all done it. But yeah, it's so easy to feel deflated. And I think this is where it's super important to keep following that passion. Because like I say, if you haven't got that internal fire burning, going, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do, using it as a learning experience to go, what can I take from that, and look at all the good that I've done for those people, and it's just going to keep growing. So almost a little bit of resilience and keeping that fire alight.
And it's almost looking at it like it's a bit of a test run sometimes, isn't it? And going, well, there's a bit of an experiment that didn't work as well as I'd hoped, but next time I'll change X, Y, and Z and it might be better. So it's like that evolving.
And having fun. It's about like, do it because it's fun, like the dog does. Like, where can I put my energy? Where can I put my energy? That's what we almost need to be like. This is what the messages of the dogs are, is to be more magnetic and heart-based. Like, okay, I'm going to do that because it's fun. But we obviously have that 20% as well of the structure. And if it's an idea that we think, oh my God, that's a really good idea, and we write it down, it might be for like next year. It doesn't mean we've got to do it then. It's like, write these things down, all these great ideas and all this great creativity that comes out when we allow our own life force flow to flow. Then, we're in the flow ourselves, and we might get all these great ideas, but it doesn't mean we've got to do them immediately. So that's where we then use that other part to kind of analyze it a little bit. And is it appropriate for now? Or is this something I can offer in 6 months? Or do you know what I mean? So you sort of, rather than becoming overwhelmed with all these things you want to do and trying to write your book at the same time as doing this and and you almost, it's like back in the day when we didn't really have the internet the way we do, we still ran businesses. And we still we're able to reach people and share our messages. So it isn't all about, let's have this fancy website. It's about doing the work. That is the crux of it. We were born to share, really. Whether we're sharing the Canine Flow stuff, whether we're sharing traditional dog training stuff, whether we're sharing amazing clicker training classes and the dogs are all having fun and the guardians are having fun, it's about that. We're here to share, and the more we share, the more we will get that back.
I love that.
And you mentioned that you'd written, is it a book or more than one?
Both my books are on canine nutrition.
Okay.
I've written a Canine Flow one. Writing the course is enough.
Because I was going to say, because obviously books are a great way to get that message across, aren't they? And spread
phenomenal.
that. Yeah. So is that your plan for the future? Would you like to write a book on Canine Flow?
It is something that's always kind of in the pipeline, but I never quite get round to it. I would like to one day. I just haven't yet. The time will come, divine timing. I trust on that. I do have cards. I have my Canine Flow oracle cards. So they're like, like you get the angel cards and the unicorn cards, and you pick one and it gives you a bit of insight into how you're feeling at the time. And the more that I did this work, it became very apparent to me that there was something which scientifically is known as a morphic field, but I call it the sacred canine heart. So it's like the morphic field of all dogs, like the collective of all dogs, rather than one dog individually. And when I was meditating, I was getting lots of downloads about it, and I ended up creating cards. So people can sort of pull out a card and see if there's anything relevant for them at the time, which is just another little super cool thing to do if you're running a relaxed dog class. It's fun, to sort of, why don't you pick one? Why don't you tell me who wants to go first?
How do I pick?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yep, go on then. What do I need to do? Just tell you when to stop.
Just say stop. Yeah, I try not to for them so you can see the card. Okay. Right, which one do you want? This one or this one?
Go with your right hand.
This one?
Yes.
So let me see what you've got. Okay, so you've got the clarity card, which is a beautiful collie. And I don't know if it's snowing where you are, if it's going too soon. So there's the sign. So what kind of dog do you have?
I've got 2 huskies.
Okay. So they love the snow.
They do.
So this is the clarity card. This says, go within, try not to let others distract you.
Like it. Clarity is actually very relevant for us at the moment.
Yeah, something we've been talking about a lot.
Yeah, we've managed to get some of
that
lately. Yeah. Recently, in the last few weeks, we've had a lot.
Do you know what? They are generally never wrong. And I always think to myself, how, like, my little bit of imposter syndrome, I'm like, how did I
do that?
I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder whether it's actually me or whether there's like this higher force that just comes through. Because I always think at the beginning of the retreat, right, we're going to do it like this. And this is my plan, for the week. Yeah. And this is when so-and-so is going to, and it never goes to plan.
Wing it.
But it's always better. It's like better almost.
Great. It's great. Well, thank you ever so much for your time today. How can people find out more about you and how can they connect with you?
canineflow.com.
canineflow.com. Amazing.
Yeah, I have a page on Facebook for Canine Flow, but I also have a page called The Spiritual Dog Trainer. So I do a lot on that, spiritual dog training, but I think the tag is Love, Woof and Wonder. My YouTube videos are Love, Woof and Wonder.
Amazing. That's great.
And the last question we've got for you, Caroline, who do you know that would be an amazing guest to come on our podcast?
Oh, goodness. On what sort of topic? Everyone I can think of has died. I'm like, Catherine would be lovely. She'd be
think of one that's alive.
Yeah. On the topic of business,
changing the industry, making it better, niching down, all those kind of topics.
Imposter syndrome,
mindset.
Okay.
Anything
well,
like
obviously, my bestie in the I industry really is Rachel Bean. Have you heard Rachel Bean on?
I have heard of Rachel Bean. Yes.
Okay. Damn. I can't say Rachel then.
You can. You can. Big Rachel up. Why Rachel?
Again?
Why Rachel? Why do we need her on?
You know what? Rachel is very grounded. And so what I find is that so she's very spiritual and soul-based, but very in this reality. So she offers lots of practical advice. Does that make sense? So I make no, bounds about it. I'm like spiritual and I'm soul-led and I just love it. And Rachel is in a way, but she's also very grounded. I'm less grounded than Rachel. So I feel that her advice is very practical. And she's also been in this a long time and she really does know what she's talking about in terms of she gets involved in a lot of the big stuff that happens, like court cases, big veterinary stuff. And we've travelled together. So we worked together at the shelter that I got Fusa. So we went together to the Soy Dog Foundation and volunteered for a good few weeks there together. So another person other than Rachel, who I know is in dog business and would be a good speaker for you. Hopefully you're not going to put this bit on the podcast because I can't think of someone immediately. So there may be some editing involved here. Let me try to think who might be on your radar. Do you know what? Cam, the dog nutritionist. is a phenomenal businessman.
Okay.
You look at what he's done to get 73k Insta followers.
Okay.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
he has just run with canine nutrition. Like, imposter syndrome isn't even in his dictionary. He's brilliant. So business wise, I'd say, yeah, I mean, he's branded great. It's, whether he would come on and talk about it, I'd say go for him.
Oh, but thank you ever so much for your time today. Really do appreciate it. Make sure you send over as much information as you can, because genuinely, like, I'm super interested. And then who knows, you may get to see us on one of your retreats.
Yes, that would be lovely.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love husky. You can bring a husky.
Love it. Oh, well, thanks again. It's been lovely getting to talk to you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.